Do you ever feel that life is just pulling you in so many different directions that you just don't feel very whole or very grounded? And inside, there's just all this chaos. Well, I've been reading this astonishing book for the last 29 years, and it's opened up for me just a whole new style, a new way of living that I'd love to share with you. Welcome to A Little Nudge. My name is Derek, and for the last 3 decades, I've been helping people explore faith and deepen their faith. And in these videos, I'm just giving you some little nudges, some little tools that might help you to live a deeper and a more meaningful life. So I didn't read as I was growing up as a child or in my teens. I didn't read at all. And it wasn't till I started my spiritual journey or took my own spirituality seriously about the age of 20 that I had this sudden hunger for wisdom on how to live life well. And somewhere along the way, I picked up this book. Well, actually, I didn't pick up this book. This is the book that I picked up, but it's kind of fallen to pieces now, which is why I've bought a new version of it very recently. Yeah, so you can see even in this copy, this battered copy, 1995. So I was like 20 at the time, when I read this, and I've just been reading it ever since. And when I was 20, the depth of this book just captured me. The stuff he was talking about. And even now, many years later, in my early 50s, I still wrestle with busyness. And so I read it recently again. And I'm struck with how he deals with the modern issue of distraction and doubt and how we just long for something a little bit deeper. And the book begins actually with a story of his life by Douglas Steer, who was a friend of his. And so Thomas Kelly was really intelligent guy. He was an academic, and he ended up studying, then he ended up teaching and professor, and very advanced in his thinking. And then in his 30s, his late 30s, he got his first PhD, his first doctorate. And as soon as he got that, he went on to try and get his next one. So he started studying at Harvard, one of the greatest university colleges in the world. And he had this relentless drive to prove himself and to kind of have this status and this acknowledgement and finally arrive at really some sense of importance. And this really drove him. And so he was dead excited when he got this PhD doctorate and he started studying it at Harvard, this premier university. And he just started studying it and pushing for it and spent years and years and years. And then at the age of 44, I think it was, he failed his submission. Yeah, so his doctorate got rejected. And this really sent him into this deep spiritual crisis. This is the age of 44. He died at the age of 47, so he only had 3 years. I mean, he didn't know that, but he only had 3 years left, as it were. And he had this really spiritual crisis. And it was this spiritual awakening that changed everything. He's one of the quotes, a couple of things that he said about that year and one of his experiences. He said, "It's wonderful. I've literally been melted down by the love of God." He had this encounter with God in a cathedral. And then he's writing to one of his mentors and he says, "2 things have been on my mind." This is in 1938, so the age of 44. "One thing was I had this summer and I still have such a sweeping experience of the refreshment of the Spirit. It's so amazing. It's so sweet. It's so prolonged as to go clear down to the roots of my being." So he had this kind of remarkable experience. And then he got invited to go to Germany. So this is in 1938, to go to Germany to speak to people who were suffering under Hitler. So he might offer some words of encouragement to them. And so he drafted some messages he could share. And then he came back and he started putting some of those into articles. And he started writing for journals and magazines about his own spiritual experience. And the reaction he got was quite phenomenal. The people started saying to him, when he was in Germany, people were really struck by his words. He was like, there's just some sort of authority here. There's some sort of depth here. I mean, he shared similar stuff in the past, but this had resonance that was coming out of his experience that just added this kind of remarkable power to the words that he was sharing. And in his last couple of years, he wrote these down and he shared it in different journals and articles, and it got printed in magazines. And it was those thoughts in the last year or two of his life that got turned into this book. So right here in his first essay, he starts with his big key idea. Let me read it to you. There is a way of ordering our mental life on more than one level at once. On one level, we may be thinking, discussing, and seeing, calculating, meeting all the demands of external affairs. But deep within, behind the scenes, at a profounder level, we may also be in prayer and adoration, song and worship, and a gentle responsiveness, divine breathings. And then he goes on to say, it is at this deep level that the real business of life is determined. There is a way of ordering our mental life on more than one level at once. I mean, I don't know about you, but I do get worn down by life and drained by life. And I long to live from a deeper place. And I have times of rest, maybe walking or praying, and times of kind of peace. Maybe I go somewhere lovely. And that really helps my soul. But then I come back into the busyness and the chaos, and I can easily lose that. And I think, oh, I need to carve out more time to have lots of peace and calm, which will like repair me so that I can go and enter into the busyness of life. But Kelly here, he's whispering about something quite different from that. He's kind of whispering that in the external chaos and challenges of life, that we can at the same time be living from a deeper place, that we don't have it just separate, but it can infuse all our ordinariness, this kind of deep river underneath of connection with God, of our groundedness, of our center, and we can kind of live out of that place. And I'll be honest, I've been reading this book on and off for 29 years and exploring the ideas, and I feel like I've not kind of broken through to the level of Kelly, but it really does attract me, this whisper. It reminds me of like Narnia, that idea that through the wardrobe there's like another world if you can enter in. And it feels like Kelly's experienced this another world, a bit like Jesus does as well, that we get invited into. And I find that really inspiring. And whenever I dip into this book, into these words, I find it really stirring my soul once again. Here we go. This is the last paragraph of the whole book. Life from the center is a life of unhurried peace and power. It is simple. It is serene. It is amazing. It is triumphant. It is radiant. It takes no time, but it occupies all of our time. And it makes our life programs new and overcoming. We need not get frantic. Oh, don't you love that? We need not get frantic. He is at the helm. And when our little day is done, we'll die down quietly in peace, for all is well. And one of the chapters in Kelly's book is called The Simplification of Life, about how to live a simple life. And we imagine simplicity comes from clearing out your closet and clearing your to-do list and all that sort of stuff, all the externals around us. But Kelly here tantalizes with the idea that actually simplicity starts on the inside. It's not about what's outside us, but it's what inside. And he suggests that when we live from this connection with God, it gives us this clarity, this crystal clarity, that we live from this place, and that drives everything else. So that guides and shapes everything else. It shapes our attitude. It shapes how we approach everything, that we can have this source of power and peace, and we can live from that place, and whatever's going on in the whole of our life, we can bring that into that place. And I find that like a really inspiring idea too. And I've got another great quote from Kelly. But if you are finding this helpful, please subscribe, click the like button, and share your comments of what you think about what I'm sharing. I'd love for you to be part of the conversation here. But by this point, we start to get discouraged by what Kelly's talking about, because we're thinking like he's some super saint. Do you know what I mean? And he's talking about something that's just really for the monks or for the really super spiritual people. It's not for the young mum at home or the professional or somebody who's looking after the parents or someone who's got lots on or whatever it might be. And then he shares this. He gets really, really practical. And let me share this quote because I just love this one. When I'm getting discouraged, this one really helps me. Here we go. Listen to how simple and practical this is on page 12. Begin now as you read these words, as you sit in your chair, to offer your whole selves utterly and in joyful abandon, in quiet, glad surrender to Him who is within. In secret ejaculations of praise, turn in humble wonder to the light, faint though it may be. Begin now as you read these words. Offer yourselves in quiet, glad surrender to Him who is within. Don't you just love that? He's like not saying you've got to go to church, or you've got to like read, all this stuff out of the Bible, or you've got to sort out your life, or you've got to be pure, or whatever. He's just saying like, just start now. Right now, like he's saying it to you right now. Just start now. Just quietly, just turn inwards in your chair right now and just offer yourself up to Him. Just abandon yourself. Just offer a praise. Just quietly surrender. And whether you do it for 2 seconds or 30 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever, don't bother studying it anymore. Just do it. And then what'll happen, this happens to me, I'll read that, so yeah, I'm going to do it, and I'll be quiet, and I'll say I'm going to live inwardly, and when I'm busy and stressed at work or my family, I'm going to live in this quiet center. And I think, right, what I'm going to do is just remember, and all the time just turn my heart to God and just live from that place, live inside out. And I think I'm going to do that. And then like a day, maybe like a week later, I'll say, oh, do you remember when I read that Testament of Devotion and I got that idea and I said I was going to be like different, that I was going to have this breakthrough that Kelly had. And then I can feel really discouraged. And then we get this, which is maybe the quote we need more than any other. We go listen to this one. Lapses and forgetting are so frequent. Our surroundings grow so exciting. Our occupations are so exhausting. But when you catch yourself again, here we go. Lose no time in self-recriminations, but breathe a final prayer for forgiveness and begin again just where you are. Offer this broken worship up to Him and say, this is what I am, except thou aid me. Admit no discouragement, but ever return gently to Him and wait in His presence. No self-recriminations, just begin. I just love that. You've got this Supersin, this man who's just experienced something way beyond what me or maybe you have. And he's talking about these really deeply challenging stuff. But then in here, he's just so gentle with us. He's just like, if you've forgot for a week, for a day, you had these plans and maybe it's got a month, maybe it's years since you've opened yourself up to God. And as soon as you start thinking about it, you think, oh no, He wouldn't be interested. And we fill ourselves with shame or regret, or we list all the reasons why He doesn't want us to come, or all the ways that we've failed. And Kelly's like, just don't bother with that. As soon as you realize, whether it's been a day or a month or as soon as you realize, just begin again right then. Any moment is a chance just to begin again. So why wouldn't you just begin again? Why would you waste time in regrets or beating yourself up or listing your failures, or by saying, oh, that was my intention last week, I said this week was going to be different, and all that, and just begin again right now where you are. Use your energy for that. And I just love that. And I think that's God's heart for us. He's like, why are you beating yourself up? Just start again. You've realized what your desire is. So just begin right now and just center yourself on God. And I've been thinking a lot about busyness and why I'm so busy. And I share a story in here about my discovery about what's really going on when I get too busy and I've got too much on my plate, that I want to blame everybody else, on my work, on my circumstances. But actually, the real reason I'm busy is very different. And if you struggle with a sense of being overwhelmed or too much to do and it's a bit eternal chaos, then watch this video next, because that's going to be really helpful to you. Yeah, throw some comments in below. I'd love to hear what you think of this video. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.